Welcome into the RotoWire DFS show. I'm Adam Zdroik, joined by Ryan Belongia. Ryan, we were just discussing before the show how exhausted we were entering the slate, and then Jordan Cooper bailed on us, so we have to talk about, 20% more than we usually talk. So it's going to be a fun slate because DraftKings has not even posted the contest yet. There is a showdown of the week featuring Nottingham Forest and Tottenham on Friday. So it's assumed they're waiting for that contest to kick off, and then they're going to post that at like 3 p.m. Eastern. So just DraftKings being cool as usual. But happy Friday, Ryan. It's the holidays, so it's not the busiest. We are not busy at all over the next few weeks. So shouts to that. But you're also moving into a house. So how's that going for you?
Yeah, it's exciting. Everything's going well. A little slower than I expected, but hopefully do the podcast there next week. Yeah, you mentioned Jordan not here. We'll probably have to talk 75% more than usual, which is unfortunate because the slate's not up yet. Can't really try to make lineups. I just pulled up the prices a little bit ago, so I guess kind of a first look podcast. It's kind of interesting, at least we have Holland out, right? Like it seems
At least we know that. Yeah.
Pretty sure that Holland's going to be out. So that's good to know at least because we have City as the biggest favorite with the highest total, home against Crystal Palace, 2.4 total. Chelsea are sort of right there behind them with a home matchup against Sheffield, one of the best matchups you can have, 2.34 total. So, basically the same total as City. And then Bournemouth, which what has to be their highest total of the season, over 2 against Luton. And they've been in great form. I was a little worried that it might be a letdown spot for them last week at Old Trafford, especially after they were coming off a big away win. I forget who it was against before that, but anyways, it was anything but. They
Crystal
kind of
Palace.
Crystal Palace, yeah.
Your old team.
Yeah, an away win against Palace where people were sort of on Palace at home in that spot. Well, not sort of. People were on Palace at home in that spot. And so, yeah, Bournemouth's on a nice run, and now they get this nice home matchup against Luton. I saw Solanke priced all the way up to 9,700, more than all the Chelsea guys, more than Julian Alvarez. So I would think that will keep his ownership down for tournaments. That's a little bit interesting. He has brace potential, obviously. And then the fourth game is this Newcastle home against Fulham. And you have Newcastle. The price tags are appealing on Newcastle. They're going to be without Kieran Trippier for, what feels like the first time in forever. They are coming off major disappointment in the Champions League. They didn't even qualify for Europa, right? No, because they lost to Milan.
Yeah,
they got last in the group. At one point, they went up 1-0. PSG were struggling. It looked like they could finish second. Looked like they were about to qualify for the knockout rounds. And yeah, then they blew it. Ended up losing to Milan. So now you get this home spot against Fulham, and they've got to be a little bit deflated. Fulham have been playing well recently and scoring some goals for a change. Raul Jimenez sort of on fire by his standards. Pereira's been doing well. I don't really want to have any interest in Fulham away to Newcastle, but maybe some of the, Newcastle without Trippier is going to be a talking point because it frees up set pieces. I don't think anybody's really sure what's going to happen with the set pieces, partly because Anthony Gordon's questionable. He might have a role if he starts. Sean Longstaff might have a role. He's only 4,100. he might be a cash game play regardless. Just if there's any potential, he's going to take any. Might just have to click him at 4,100. Almiron is kind of cheap. He would be, their only left-footed player besides Dan Burn, and Dan Burn is not going to be taking any set pieces. So yeah, I don't know. That's kind of the slate. What do you think?
Yeah, I think these prices are frustrating again, just with Manchester City. If they were priced a little higher, I think there'd be more questions. I also think if Newcastle was closer to 100%, this would be a really fun slate because that would be probably 4 teams at home that you could, reasonably go to. I'm sure you can still reasonably go to some of these Newcastle pieces, but it just doesn't feel as exciting. They've kind of been deflated in the second half of recent games, and they still don't have a ton of rotation available to them. So I'm not sure. It might be a situation where they're kind of maybe they get a goal, but they're still just hanging on in the second half. Trippier was, he's suspended, but he was barely lasting these recent games. In making things worse, Crystal Palace have a ton of injuries. We saw them earlier in the season when they had similarly a ton of injuries, but they may have more here. They're home against Nottingham Forest. I don't know, about a month ago, and they didn't really have anyone available to them, and they, I think, escaped with a scoreless draw. So Tyreek Mitchell is expected to be back. Not sure if he's going to start, but they're going to be starting Remy Matthews, their third string goalkeeper, because Dean Henderson is still out. John Stone was confirmed out. Jefferson Lerma was confirmed out. Decore was confirmed out. Edward was confirmed out. Eze is still out. So we basically have a midfield of Hughes, Richards. I threw Ahamada in there. I just don't know what they're going to do. I don't know what Hodgson's going to do. Could be something weird. Maybe he just goes with like 5 defenders in the spot because it is Manchester City. It could be like a 5-3-2 kind of a thing where, you move Schlupp into the midfield. Ahamada doesn't start. And I don't know. I don't even know if James Tompkins is still on their team, but actually is Rob Holding might be available. Maybe Crystal Palace just goes full defensive with like 5 defenders here. I think that's in range instead of this 4-3-3. But either way, it's going to lead to a massive floor for these Manchester City players. I just did a betting show earlier. We talked about Bournemouth, Luton Town. Luton Town last in the league by a decent margin in terms of possession. So Bournemouth are probably going to be in the almost 70% possession, and that usually leads to good floors. So you got a couple talking things. Sheffield United are also bottom in terms of possession. So at least we have, if you don't want to, play 6 Man City guys, we at least have Chelsea guys to look at, Bournemouth guys to look at. And then as we get into cash games here, you mentioned Sean Longstaff. Is Sean Longstaff just a lock here, no matter who starts, kind of thing? I know that's kind of crazy to say. Eddie Howe mentioned in his press conference, some of these guys returning from injury aren't completely, fully fit. So he was out for about a month with an ankle injury. So just an injury that you can't walk on really. So it's been off the bench the last couple games though. Expected to have maybe a split of set pieces. Though, as you said, I pulled up Almiron's profile. He did take corners for Atlanta United back 5 years ago or so or whatever. And he has taken some in the past for Newcastle here and there when needed. So there are options. I guess the thing with Longstaff is, okay, he's 4.1K. Do you just play him regardless? Or are you do you want to bank on Longstaff set pieces kind of a thing?
Yeah. If he was more expensive, you might have a decision, but I think you kind of do just have to play him regardless. We need money for these other guys that we're going to want to play. And you're going to have to punt somewhere. There's going to be the chance that he's splitting set pieces. So you just have to, I think you just have to play it. Like you won't, right? I mean, you won't know if he's splitting or not, or taking sets or not for sure. So
just the fact that he's like so cheap, and he usually has. He's one of those midfielders that does a little bit of everything. He usually has, he gets points here and there, even without corners. So
yeah, he would have a floor without corners. So I think it's probably a pretty easy click. Yeah, it's annoying that the Palace has so many injuries, because, without Holland there, it's a spot you'd think, "Oh, maybe we can get away from City." But as you mentioned, they
It's
should
going to
have.
be 90% possession.
Yeah, they have massive floors in this spot. So Alvarez is probably the first guy in, for cash games, right? I guess you can start Alvarez at forward, long staff at midfield, and go from there. But no, that like Bournemouth too. You mentioned really good spot for Bournemouth. That they should have a lot of possession. Increases the floors on like a Tavernier. Maybe you can consider him at midfield. And then yeah, you have this Chelsea spot just sitting there. I guess it kind of makes it an interesting slate. Um, you figure it's a great spot for Chelsea too. I don't know, for cash games, they don't have really clear cut options for cash games. I don't know. Maybe you feel differently.
I mean, it's Chelsea. It's always every Chelsea slate, every Chelsea game is you got to guess the
They
right player.
they never really succeed in these spots. It seems like. Um,
That's also true. I
yeah,
just know just like Enzo Fernandez, he had I don't know a month or two of just pretty poor results. He was getting subbed off early. He was removed from set pieces, and then it was that home match against Brighton where I was like, oh, he's 4.8K all of a sudden. He was up in the 7K range at some point. Then he got a brace. Now he's I don't know. Opta labeled him as an attacking midfielder in the Everton game last game. He's got 8 shots in his last 3 games now. No set pieces, so not the cash consideration, but that's just kind of like an example of what you get from Chelsea. Kind of all these players are in that range. Mudryk is also an option to start there. He started a couple here, but I mean, you remove Reece James once again. Cucurella's out, so they have just playing Levi Colwill and Axel Disasi at fullback it just feels defensive. um, and then Petrovic is going to be his first game with Chelsea here. I don't know how much that's going to mean for him. It's not like Sanchez was having a great season there, but just in terms of communication, we'll see. So, yeah, Chelsea or Chelsea. I'll say here before we get going here, we're going off prices. We're using the cheat sheet here, rotowire.com/soccer trial. It's a 48-hour trial. And that's what we're using everything off of here for this show because the slate is not up at DraftKings. Someone was asking a question about thoughts on the Nottingham Forest and Tottenham showdown tonight. We're not talking about that here. Rotowire.com/chat. You can ask questions in our Discord. Someone will answer them. Someone will give their thoughts on that showdown. But we got a full 4-game slate here. Full difficult 4-game slate here. We gotta decipher here. I guess my question is, would you play both Alvarez and Foden in cash games here? Foden at 8,600.
um, yeah, I think that's fine. I was looking. It doesn't seem like Foden's been taking any sets at all.
Right.
Recently. Yeah, no sets.
Oh wait,
Um,
hold up. We just got a message. Chan just said the slate might be out. Let's double check. No, it's not up. I don't know. He must be lying. Okay.
I don't see
Forget it.
it.
Yeah, it's not up. We have some
Okay.
jokesters in the chat, so we're fine.
Yeah, so like Foden, I mean, yeah, sure, just because he's on Manchester City and it's a
Hmm.
great spot and he's
He's
cheaper than
cheaper.
Bernardo, right?
Yeah. Why
Yeah.
is I don't know. I don't understand that one, but
Yeah, so he's 8,600 and Bernardo's what, 91, I believe. Yeah, 91. So, yeah, I can see starting Alvarez and Foden. Like, are we going to have anyone to pay for in midfield? I don't know, and I don't think we're going to have anyone to pay for at defender,
I
really
guess it would
either.
depend if you wanted Tavernier at 8,300.
I mean, you might be able to afford that too, just because.
Punting at
I,
defender, basically.
yeah, I think so. I just looking at it, I don't see any defenders that you're going to want to pay for. This like just breaking down the slate from cash, that you can kind of cross off Crystal Palace away to City, and you can kind of cross off Sheffield away to Chelsea.
Wait, Hammer Time?
Yeah, like what, Hammer Time 4,900. I mean, I'm not clicking that. He lucked into an assist for Jack and whoever else played him last time out. I'm not
Cole
sure.
Palmer is also up here at 8,800.
Yeah,
he's midfield only, right?
Yeah, so he's in consideration too. I guess you got to decide who's better between him and Tav. You got Palmer's expensive too. He's 8,800. He's going to be taking pens and splitting corners. Do we think that, did Enzo really play attacking midfield last week?
We'd have to go to the heat maps for that one.
Might have to check on that. But yeah, no sets for Enzo anymore.
It's just one of those situations where like both Gallagher and Enzo get up at times in the game and opt to, I don't know, automated that Enzo was attacking more than Gallagher kind of a thing.
I think that's how it is. They both get up at different points. Yeah, so like back to the question of second forward. I mean, who are the other options, if you don't play Foden? So we're not going to play a Chelsea guy. They just don't have any cash plays at forward since Palmer's midfield only. Newcastle, Almiron, 6,400, maybe splitting sets. It's cheap enough where you could go there. Again, it's a weird spot to have Newcastle without Trippier. And I don't know how Newcastle are going to come out and play. But Almiron seems decent for 6,400 if he's going to take some corners. Again, I guess we don't really know.
What are your thoughts? Justin Cliver is 4,800.
I was going to go there
next. A risk of 60, 70 minutes, but he's very cheap here. And, we just mentioned Bournemouth are at home as a pretty big favorite. So,
yeah, I think you could go there. I don't know. I looked at him. I saw 4,800. There's not too many cheap guys that you're comfortable clicking.
Great. I mean, because who else are you playing instead of him, instead of Foden?
Yeah. So
I guess it'd be like Alvarez and Foden, and then whoever, Tavernier and Longstaff in midfield, no. Or you could play Alvarez and Cliver with Palmer and Tavernier in midfield, something like that, maybe.
Yeah, and Longstaff. Yeah, I guess you could play that. You could play that probably and play three if you want to play three midfielders. Like if you want to play Palmer and Tavernier.
Yeah, I mean, just because I guess because it's I think we just had one of these defender slates where there are no good defenders that you want to spend up on. So at the end of the day, maybe just go with a sub 3K defender, and it doesn't really matter. So just find the best plays in your other spots, punt all the way down at defender, and then it probably won't matter. Even if you get 2-3 points from your defender, there's no Trippier on the slate there's no TAA on the slate who's going to have the 10+ point floor with upside. It's just not going to be there. It's going to be, if someone does get over 10 points, it's probably going to be random. It's not going to be, a massive chalk defender. So
probably, yeah. Like who skipping around? I was going to say who are the best plays at defense, but we'll save that. So yeah, back Foden, of course, it's fine. It's the cheapest City forward, and they're in a great spot. I guess you just got to decide if you want Foden or one of those expensive midfielders. For cash, I don't know. It seems like people normally lean towards the City guys, but I don't know. Foden doesn't seem like a lock. Maybe he is. I don't know. Like without trying to build lineups, it's kind of weird.
Yeah.
But
what are your thoughts on Grealish at 8,100? He got a little bit of a knock midweek, went off after 45. Pep didn't really mention it. Again, Doku's out, so it's not like they have a ton of replacements with Doku and Holland out there. So maybe that whatever he picked up midweek wasn't anything. Maybe it is something, but he is still cheap. And as we say, 80% possession plus in this spot. He's cheaper than Foden. I don't know if it's the worst idea, but
is Doku out for sure?
yeah, fairly certain.
Yeah, without Doku on the bench, I mean, it bumps Foden up a little too. Grealish, I don't think I can click Grealish in cash. Not for that. Not for that. Not for 8,100. I don't know. He seems too inconsistent, I guess, recently. He got subbed at half midweek. Like you said, maybe that's nothing, but
That was a game that didn't mean anything, so I don't know what we want to take it from that.
yeah. I mean, again, I'm not going to fault anybody for clicking City in this spot against a weakened Palace side, but Grealish, I don't know. He's not really standing out for me.
Almiron is difficult because he's just not. He's never really been a floor guy. But if you throw in the possibility of set pieces at 6,400 at home, it's not terrible. It still feels difficult.
I mean, yeah, I know they were chasing the game. He had 13 floor or 12 floor against Milan midweek, 10 against Manchester United. I mean, he plays 90 minutes most of the time. He actually doesn't have that bad of a floor. I think Almiron's okay. I mean, like you have to imagine that he's splitting set pieces, being that he's the only left-footed player they have. I mean, unless they're just going to have one guy take them all, but I don't know. Like, I guess they did that with Trippier. I don't know. Any chance Shar shows up on the sets? The shots, at least.
I know maybe that's a joke, but I assume that he's actually going to be on the free kicks.
Yeah, definitely the free kicks that are shooting opportunities.
When Newcastle line up for free kicks, it's always Trippier and Shar talking. Shar would take one of them once in a while, but I think Trippier recently had a goal, so he's taken kind of the majority of those recently. But I'm going to assume Shar is going to be on, if not all of them. I mean, I don't know how many there's going to be, but there'll be it's just a couple shot opportunities for a center back who is a little cheaper. So,
yeah,
I think I did mention. If Lewis Hall starts because Trippier is out, he did take sets for Chelsea at times last season. So Lewis Hall is a possibility as well.
Yeah, if he starts, then that would really muddy things up.
That would make things even.
You have to assume he takes some sets if he starts. Yeah, I don't know. I guess maybe this just means City are where you want to go for cash. I don't know. It all depends how you evaluate this spot for City. Maybe the floors are just so massive against this Palace team that you want to get multiple City guys in for cash. I really couldn't argue with someone for that. It's always it's tough for me to wrap my head around cash still because I don't play that much, and I think from a GPP point of view, and I see a spot finally without Holland. Now maybe I can fade Chalk City for some of these other spots, but cash games, that's not the way to go.
It's really not difficult. We could have a slate where, maybe this isn't as fun as we think, and maybe it is Manchester City get 5 goals because you can put together and line up pretty easily because these Manchester City guys aren't priced that heavily. You can use, like Rodri is down at 5,700. He can be in the lineup. If John Stone starts, he's down at 3,300. Even then, there's Akanji and Diaz at 3,900. So the defenders are cheaper. I don't know if you want to go Kovacic, but he's there. Vardiol is 4,500. So these guys are just cheap enough to where you can put together a lineup pretty easily with 6 Man City guys. And I'm not adding these numbers up as we speak. I don't have the spreadsheet like Jack does the spreadsheet, but um, even if you need money, maybe you just throw Sean Longstaff in at utility or something if you need money. So
Yeah, just the last thing I'll say is I know the Palace team looks really weak, but I have a suspicion that the city floors aren't as high without Holland in there, just in general, right? Wouldn't you think so? I would see a lot less crosses. I mean, they don't have any players to cross the ball to, literally any of them. Like, I mean, just like sometimes you see Kyle Walker in certain formations getting forward a ton and crossing. They're just not going to do that if they don't have Holland in there. Even like a guy like Bernardo Silva, whoever, Grealish too, there's kind of no one to cross to. So I don't know. That might affect their floor just a little. I mean, do you disagree? I mean, are they just maybe they just take? I guess maybe they just take longer shots. No, they
are
have
you
a.
saying play one Manchester City guy in cash games?
I don't know. I don't think it's the worst idea.
I pulled up the
Um,
stats here. They back up what you said. Manchester City against Luton Town had 8 crosses. Just looking through the numbers, 11 chances created. So, a lot of dribbling in there, but 8 crosses, which obviously is not a lot. 8 crosses on 18 shots. Can't really look at this Red Star Belgrade game, but they only had 5 crosses. So, it makes sense. It's like they're not crossing it to, I don't know,
they really have no one to
Bernardo
cross
Silva,
to. Yeah,
unless it's a situation where whoever, Akanji, Kovacic, the center backs are playing so far forward that they're basically forwards, and then they're crossing to them. But I mean, that's a really extreme situation to project that. Okay, yeah, I expect crosses and 4 points because Akanji is going to be in the box for half the match. Maybe it'll happen.
right.
But
Yeah, no, no. Obviously, like if Foden or Bernardo they're out there for 90 minutes, they're gonna rack up some floor. Um,
yeah, there would be fouls
but
drawn. There would be obviously
shots
chances created,
assisted and
whatever.
yeah,
Yeah.
right. But yeah, just something to think about.
Yeah, definitely just removes the crosses from open play possibility, which, as you said, probably more likely with Holland on. So let's look at some cheaper midfielders outside of Longstaff. That is, we mentioned what's available in kind of the high range of midfield. So this would be maybe you spend up twice at forward. Maybe you really like Dominic Solanke because I made the I made the graphic, I made the show name Cherry Season before I saw the prices, and then all of a sudden Solanke is the most expensive projected starter. Did not plan on that happening. I thought it was going to be a little cheaper. I thought, maybe be cheaper than the Manchester City guys, but unfortunately, he is not. There's a possibility maybe if Matheus Nunez also starts. He's 6,300. Agbene looks like he's back from his injury. Doughty is always a discussion point. I guess I mentioned the Luton Town possession is worrying, but Doughty still gets floor points, still crosses a bunch. He's 6,100, and it's not like Bournemouth are a lockdown defense with the way they play. So still kind of pricey, it seems, at 6,100, but something to think about. Ryan Christie, his price is going up a little bit here, 5,600. Tom Kearney, okay, not really going to go there. Fulham at Newcastle, probably won't go to these guys, at least in cash games. Bruno Guimaraes, it's a wonder why there's some of these. Why is Joel Paulinho more expensive than Bruno Guimaraes? I don't know. Lewis Cook is 5,100. Mentioned Hammer Time. Clivert probably more as a forward option at 4,800. Those are the kind of the options we're looking at here as I'm just scrolling through the list. Uh, and that's kind of what we got to do here without the slate. Did anything else pop out to you in terms of just like cheaper midfielders? Maybe you think, James McAtee scores again.
mm, no, not really. I mean, gonna gonna ask you about your boy Ryan Christie. Um,
I think he's won the most tackles in the league by a wide margin was the stat that was being hyped up
yeah.
this week.
So why did he pop up and take 7 sets 2 weeks ago against Palace?
Was that the game that Tavernier didn't start?
Maybe it was. Yeah,
I think it was because they had they had so many games. I don't think Tavernier started that
yeah.
one.
Good call. That's what it was. Okay,
Yeah,
so yeah, forget about Christie. Um,
unless you want a ton of
no, there's
tackles
not
one.
much here. It's what makes it so easy to click Longstaff and cash for tournaments. Um,
Longstaff and cash. No, Longstaff and tournament, sorry.
you can do that too for sure.
Yeah.
I guess the Chelsea guys are in consideration. I mean, just Gallagher and Enzo are the same price, and
Speaking of tackles, one Gallagher is just another guy who gets tons of points from
yeah,
tackles.
he's like a walking yellow card because of it. But yes, there are games when he can put up big floors with peripherals, and that's a guy that's due a goal. Gallagher, he has goals in him, and he could get one in this spot. So I don't mind either him or Enzo for tournaments. Um, Midfield's tough, man. Like it's tough because like we said at the start, or like I said, you're crossing off Palace, you're crossing off Sheffield, um, Luton. Like I don't know, maybe a Luton guy. I guess you can make an argument for Alfie, but even that's a tough click. Then I guess you have Fulham, Pereira, 7,400. Maybe a
It's too
tournament play.
much. Yeah.
Yeah, that's too much, right? I was looking at Fulham because wouldn't be shocked to see Newcastle lose in this spot after what happened midweek, and Fulham are kind of on their best run of the season. Um, so Raul Jimenez is only 5,600 back to forward. I guess I thought he would be a little more expensive.
Play him.
It's maybe.
It's
On
been
the other,
it's been a couple weeks for Raul Jimenez here.
yeah, there's just not a lot of cheap options that have goals in them. Yeah, I think I'd rather play a Kluivert for like 4,800, but just trying to find other guys. The other guy on the opposite side of that game, Isak, is only 7,100. I think probably a little pissed off that he didn't start that big match midweek. Eddie Howe went back to Callum. So yeah, I think Isak is an interesting tournament play for sure. But I think Jimenez is fine for tournaments too. There's just might not be a lot of spots for cheap goals, especially if you're fading three of the teams on the slate already.
We actually haven't talked about Anthony Gordon too much here.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, because we should talk about Gordon. I guess it seems like he's going to play, right?
It seems like he's going to play. He said, he picked up a hamstring tweak on Wednesday, told Eddie Howe he was fine. They're going to see after, I think, today's training session how he felt, something like that. So, I mean, it is a worry here, but you throw in, 8,200 home against Fulham. You also have possibility of set pieces, but you also have a possibility of maybe this, like a hamstring tweak. He's probably not going to go 90. So what are you kind of expecting here? And then when Isak, I guess in terms of tournaments, when Isak is, 1,100 cheaper. And there are times when Isak and Callum Wilson play together. So it wouldn't be surprising if, Isak starts, Callum Wilson comes on for Anthony Gordon, Isak moves to the wing, that kind of thing. So.
Right. Yeah, I think you broke it down well. I mean, the fact that he's 8,200 is what makes it tough when everyone else on Newcastle is cheaper, and 8,200 now he's the same price as some City and Chelsea guy, and the same price as Tavernier. Yeah, I guess we'll keep his ownership down for tournaments.
So I think the main thing turning off, which isn't surprising, just with Chelsea, as you said earlier, it's like every time Chelsea are in this spot or a good spot like this, we play them and they're absolutely terrible. I do think some of that is from last season. There have been a decent amount of goals in their games. Last home game, they beat Brighton 3-2, 4-4 against Manchester City, 2-2 against Arsenal. So they have some positive results at home. I chose to skip over their 2-0 loss against Brentford, but Brentford at that point didn't have as many injuries. So I don't know. I wonder if looking at some of these Chelsea guys, maybe I think I do prefer playing Alvarez, Tavernier, and Cole Palmer. I think that's kind of what I'm getting at. You're just getting all these set pieces in great situations, and you're not trying to go with, okay, Manchester City, all these guys are going to have huge floors, so I'm just going to play those guys. So kind of fading away from Foden of no sets kind of a thing. So I think that's the kind of route I'm going to be looking at.
I think I'm with you.
Just depends on if we want to play Clivert at second forward or if we want to play, I don't know, Longstaff in the. I don't even know if it's going to come to that actually. So because again, we haven't put together our lineups yet, but it'll be something like that, I think.
Yeah, me too. I think you might end up playing Longstaff no matter what, but
Yeah,
even in the flex, so.
it might be a situation where instead of goalie, play whoever you want, defender, play whoever you want. So let's get to defender here, and I'll sort by price. So as you can see. Is this even correct? Jacob Murphy listed as a defender? Is that even? It's weird. Must be an issue. I don't even know if that's the case. But so Trippier would have been 8K on this slate. Instead, we have to go down. I guess there's a slight chance that Malo Gusto starts at right back. Again, he's been out for a month. I don't know what his injury situation is. I think that would be risky, but it is a pretty good matchup. So I guess he goes into consideration. We're looking at Kyle Walker. Okay, if we're not going to get the crosses into Holland, are we going to play Kyle Walker for 5,300? Anthony Robinson at Newcastle, Vardial, 4,500. I actually kind of like Milos Kerkez here, just an attacking fullback. As you can see on our cheat sheet, he has probably maybe not one of the higher floors, but just an attacking fullback, and he's playing against Luton Town. So maybe one of the players that stood out to me at 4,400. And then we're looking at, Livermento's 4,100. Colwell. We have the Manchester City guys. And then where is my guy at? How many lineups are you playing Fabian Schär in at 3K?
Yeah, I think you can click Schär this week for sure. We mentioned he might get a couple shots. Probably has priority on some of the free kicks. And there's just not a lot at defender this week. So
why are the Newcastle almost all their players, but even center backs, why are their center backs cheaper than the Fulham center backs? Like that just doesn't make any sense.
Right, I see that, and Longstaff is a little too cheap, and Almiron is a little too cheap, and Isak is a little too cheap. So something with the DraftKings algorithm didn't love Newcastle this week. Part of it, I would assume, is that City, Chelsea, and Bournemouth are all bigger favorites. But on the other hand, maybe DraftKings knows this is a letdown spot for Newcastle. We're gonna try to play this value with Trippier out, and they're just all gonna bust.
I'll just say in terms of that, like they've already had their letdown spot. Newcastle have had their letdown spot. This is a bounce back spot.
This is a bounce back spot.
This is a bounce back spot. And
okay.
one question I have for you. Without Trippier's probably made 5 mistakes in the past 2 weeks that have led to goals. Do you think there's a chance without Trippier that their defense is actually better?
Yeah, definitely. I've always thought Trippier was a suspect defender, but he's proved me wrong, I guess, for the he's been a serviceable defender, but yeah, this season, especially recently, he's made a lot of big mistakes.
A tired Trippier is not a good defensive Trippier.
No, because he's already kind of slow and not the quickest guy. So when he's tired, that's trouble. So yeah, you might be onto something. I think Livermento's a pretty good player. And I think at right back, he has a higher floor than at left back, for sure. So I think you could play Livermento. What is he, 4,100? He's in the conversation for cash. I like Kerkez too. I noticed him for 4,400. I like Levi Colwell at left back. I just like him as a player.
The strategy all season is play the fullbacks against Sheffield United. So
yeah,
at this point,
I
Maybe
was
it doesn't
fortunate
matter who it
enough
is.
to get the Colwell goal on the last slate that we played, or that Chelsea was on. You're right. It's just a great spot against Sheffield United. He was the captain. Chelsea captained, or he was the captain of Chelsea last game. I thought that was kind of interesting. He's like 20 years old only, and kind of
Yeah.
just came there. But yeah, it seems like he has a big future. I think you could play him for 3,800. And you mentioned Shar. I mean, Shar is probably clearly the best punt, right? I mean, Axel Disasi at right back, just because the matchup's so good. But you mentioned maybe Malo Gusto. Like
Yeah.
Disasi is clearly not a right back. Like, I saw you laugh a little bit, but against Sheffield, yeah, he's decent at getting on the end of set pieces. I mean, he's a center back, so.
Right. Yeah, Jamal Lascelles is 2,700. It's just like they're begging us to just stack Newcastle center backs here, or if you have money, play Livermento. In terms of Livermento, if we get this lineup, if Dan Burns back in the starting 11, so the way Newcastle play is okay. Trippier is usually a little more forward. Dan Burn is a little further back. So Livermento's numbers, I'll click on his profile here, have looked fine, okay, for the most part, left back. Floor isn't terrible, but the crosses just aren't there. You'd think that, if he actually isn't at right back, if he is in this role, the crosses may actually be there for Livermento. We may actually get a 10-point floor from Livermento if he's in this role. So that is just one thing that if you have the money, if you're like just don't know where to spend it or something like that, maybe Livermento might be the guy at 4,100.
Yep, that is a sharp point. I was thinking the same. You can expect him further forward, more floor. That you mentioned, that's how Newcastle play. It's better to be on that side with Almiron. He makes things easier from an attacking sense and for him defensively. So yeah, I'm with you. It's a good spot for Livermento.
And so we don't talk about every center back on the slate. Let's get goalkeeper here. I'll pull up the prices. So we got Ederson here. Ederson is 55% clean sheet. That's 7% more than Chelsea. Ederson is 5,900. Petrovic, who is starting over Sanchez, is 5,600. Neto is 5,300. Dubravka is 5,100. Bernleno is 4,400. Kaminsky is 4,200. Fodderingham is 3,800. Remy Matthews is 3,600. So not too surprising, just goes by the odds. This cannot be an Ederson slate. We aren't building lineups out, but unless you look at it like, okay, this is a free 12 points because of the lineup that Crystal Palace are putting out. If you look at it like that and you think that, the 12 points is enough and you're just going to be like, okay, I got Longstaff and utility. I got two, I don't know, Newcastle center backs or something at defender. I just want the 12 points from Ederson. You think this is finally the slate that Ederson actually pays off for when you could go up to him.
Yeah, you'd think this might be the time, but I don't know if it feels like it's never the time, no matter what.
And then Michael Elise is like, not today.
Not right. Man, Ederson chalk seems to fail all the time in these spots. So yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't make it a priority, but if you're looking at the odds and what we said about the Palace lineup, it seems like City are going to keep a clean sheet, but they always seem to fail. Yeah, sorry. I see Al in the chat. Colwell didn't start last game. Yeah, sorry. That was like there's been so many. The fixtures are so congested. That was a few games ago where Colwell scored. I think the only reason he didn't start because it was like 3 games in quick succession. But yeah, goalkeeper. I don't know. I don't know that I necessarily have a take. Oh yeah, I do have. Yeah.
What do you got?
Give me some Remy Matthews if I need it.
I was just gonna say that. I was like, do we want to trust the third string goalkeeper against Manchester City?
Yeah, what I could see happening is that they take a few more long shots without Haaland in there. That would be the reason, because normally, the way that they play, they don't waste shots, and I'm not even confident that they're going to do that this time. I just think that there's a chance. Obviously, it's going to be tougher to score without Holland in there. I mean, if you look at their implied total, though, it wouldn't say that, as it's still above 2.4. But yeah, you could at least take some chances. I'd rather take a chance on him, I think, than foddering him. Yeah, I don't know. You play. I don't know. Do you have any takes? I mean, it's so tough to come up with takes for goalie. Can Luton beat Bournemouth? If so, then play Kaminsky.
Their away form is terrible. There's one of these teams that just live off their fans kind of thing. I just can't.
Yeah.
So Omri Glazer made 0 saves against Manchester City in Champions League. And then we did have Kaminsky made 4 saves, and Luton Town were winning 1-0 at one point in that game. So, I mean, I guess you have one game of history that suggests it's possible. But that was against Liverpool. Remy Matthews came on, and I don't know. It's a third string goalkeeper, so it just seems very difficult. We don't know.
Yeah.
Too
I
much
was
about
hoping
him.
it'd be some like young up and coming kid. I just clicked on him for the first time ever. He's 29 years old, and he's
Oh, is he? That's
just
not a good sign.
like some guy. He's been a backup for Palace, a backup for Sunderland. Looks like he may have started for Bolton like 4 or 5 years ago, but
Most of his starts came for Bolton Wanderers. That's a good shout there.
he was on loan starting for St. Johnston last year in the Scottish League.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm gonna
I
have to
can't go there.
withdraw.
I can't
I'm
go
gonna
there.
withdraw my Remy Matthews tout, I think. Sorry.
I'm looking at Jack's goalkeeper pick right now, and I'm not going to mention it on this show. You got to go read his article, but I think it's kind of funny for his brand.
I can't wait. I mean, did he go to Ederson? I could see him going to Ederson
He might
after
have.
after the recent debacle. Yeah, it's going to be really tough for Palace to score in this spot. But we've said that before, and City allow it. So,
of the cheap goalkeepers, what about Bernd Leno here? I mean, we talked a little bit about Fulham are playing really well. Newcastle are really tired. So maybe I know obviously he's the most expensive of the cheap goalkeepers, but I think it's like a $600 difference between Remy Matthews and Bernd Leno. And again, defender doesn't really matter that much. So if you are in that low range, maybe you just try and get up to Bernd Leno if possible. It seems like the spot.
Yeah, I'm in on Leno for sure. I mean, essentially to me, the game's kind of a pick 'em. So yeah, just in terms of you don't know. Yeah, it's a pick 'em. You don't know how Newcastle are going to come out without Trippier, tired legs, like you said, and Fulham are enjoying their best run of the season. So clearly high on confidence. So yeah, to me it's kind of like a pick 'em. So yeah, give me some Leno for sure.
I will just say Fotheringham has multiple saves in every game, and I think they've kind of played a little better defensively under Chris Wilder. So Fotheringham, I guess, if you don't want Bernd Leno for some reason, if you really like your lineup and you can only fit Fotheringham in, then I think Fotheringham is fine.
Yeah.
I mean, we kind of.
Yeah. No, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to talk about the top 4 goalkeepers. I mean, we talked about Ederson.
Oh. Yeah, I was just going to say Fotheringham got his win clean sheet last weekend. So now it's kind of like, okay, we just sit back and concede again like we used to, you know. We had our fun. Like, no, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to play Petrovic or Neto or Dubravka. So it's almost like if I have the money, do I have to go up to Ederson? I guess that's kind of what I'm falling at here. It almost seems like that. Once we're building lineups, maybe it'll come a little clearer, but kind of seems where I'm at right now, how I'm feeling on this slate. But I guess
you're right. It does seem like the built-in 12-point floor, I guess we could call it.
Yeah, if I'm being honest, like we know Elise is in here, but Elise just was out for so long, and he isn't the same. I don't think yeah, he hasn't provided the same effect that Eze has played. I know he has a pretty nice goal and all that, but I think Eze in the team just provided a little more in terms of what Crystal Palace could do, whereas Elise just really he's not in form. He really hasn't gotten to last season's levels yet, and that part is a bit worrying. Um, as we look at, I don't know,
I
just
think
all these
that's a
lower
solid.
scoring matches.
Mm. I don't
I
know.
guess
I
it was
think. I
a
think. Go ahead.
So I pulled up so the last time so Crystal Palace, I guess in this game it was Eze and Elise were both out when they're home against Nottingham Forest. It was 0-0. Crystal Palace managed 8 shots at home against Nottingham Forest. They started Riedewald, Will Hughes, and Jeffrey Schlupp in the midfield, and then Edouard and Mateta. Edouard, I think, is just back from injury, and then Ayew up front. So probably going to be a similar situation here, except Edward isn't available, and you have Elise instead of Ayew. And Elise isn't the same kind of workhorse guy that's going to, I don't know, get back on defense. I think Elise was actually at fault for one or two of the goals last week allowed by Crystal Palace, but I don't know what I'm trying to say in the end here.
No, it's the correct soccer take. Eze helps the team more than Olise does in tough matchups for sure. They're just different types of players. Eze gets the ball and he can carries it out of tough spots, draws fouls, links play with other people.
Hmm.
Whereas Olise, he's on the wing. He sort of needs other people to get him involved. Um,
And that
so
player
yeah,
getting him
no.
involved is Will Hughes and Chris Richards.
Right. No, so you're right. Like Eze helps them in tougher matchups more than Elise does.
All right, so because this one is a little weirder, we're going off the cheat sheet. We've kind of jumped all around a little bit. We haven't really, I don't know, mentioned our favorite. Some of our, we kind of mentioned, okay, Manchester City. You could do the Manchester City 6 players and just kind of, hope they get the 5 goals, and then maybe the other ones are lower scoring, kind of a thing. I think that I don't even know if that's going to be popular. It's usually popular, but because of the other teams on the slate, I'm still not certain what I want to do here. I think that I think your take on Newcastle Fulham is actually going to be the public take. So I think if you want to win some big tournaments, you can play for like a Newcastle big win. Um, Newcastle at home is different, and we were talking. They're not. They're playing. Everyone's tired, so obviously that is another thing. But again, we talked about the show on Kits and Wagers. Check it out. Check out the podcast, also on our YouTube, RotoWire Soccer. The line moved in the past week. Newcastle were minus 200 to win, and they're currently minus 115. You can look at it like, okay, this is based on recent performances from both teams, and Newcastle are tired kind of thing. Trippier's out, whatever. But you can look at it like, should a line move that much in the matter of a week? I guess you can look at it like that. So I think that one is something to at least think about in the bigger tournaments, because based off what I'm hearing from your comments, and I just think overall in terms of that line movement, I don't think Newcastle are going to be as popular as we'd usually think they're going to be home against Fulham. So uh,
Yeah. It's unfortunately they have some chalk players, like
true.
Longstaff, Livermento, maybe even Shar, maybe even Almiron. I mean, Isak is relatively cheap. Like I agree with your take. I just feel like it's hard for them to be low owned on this slate.
Do you think the general public is going to be on Fabian Schär? I have to know this because he's going to be in every one of
Well,
my lineups.
is there a general public anymore? I mean, the soccer lobby is getting so small that just like everyone consumes all the content and
The
knows
general
everything. And
public
like,
is RotoWire followers,
yeah,
unfortunately.
like it's getting smaller and smaller, the general public. So I don't know.
So, is there a king? Oh, there. I don't know if there's going to be a king of the pitch. We don't know what the contests look like. So, um,
Yeah, there better be. I mean, there's got to be. I mean, come on, there's got to be.
what what are you more likely to do instead of Manchester City gets enough talk? Are you more likely to have just like a full Chelsea stack or a full Bournemouth stack?
If I went full, it'd probably be Chelsea. But I don't know. Maybe that's the wrong take. I guess either team could do it. It's easier to have a full Bournemouth stack. All those Chelsea forwards are expensive. So I don't know if I would have a full Chelsea stack either.
Yeah, we haven't mentioned Jackson. Where's he? He's 9,200. So
he's 92. Do you think Sterling will be lower owned than Jackson at Sterling 9,500? Jackson, the center forward, at 9,200.
yes, yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Have you seen Sterling's game logs here?
Mm-hmm.
Not the same as earlier in the season.
No.
Early in the season, it was 10-point floor. Recently, back to normal, 5-point floor, sub 5-point floor. So
benched last game. Well, he'd been probably just rested last game. I still think you can go there in tournaments.
Mm-hmm.
He still has big games in him. I don't know. Like,
who's your favorite player to play from each team? Cole Palmer. Do you prefer playing? Would you rather play a one-off of Solanke or just like Tavernier and maybe Solanke or maybe Tavernier and one of the other pieces?
Say the question again. Would I rather one-off? What? I don't mind one-offing either of them.
Okay. You're fine with the Tavernier one-off?
Yeah, definitely. I think he's fine as a one-off. I know,
I know you're a big Tavernier family supporter, so.
Oh, yeah. I haven't been playing his brother that much recently. He's just expensive and doesn't have as high of a floor anymore. But anyways, I'm fine with him as a one-off because
Milos, Kirkez, Solanke, and then you fade Tavernier.
Yeah, that works better. Kirkez works much better paired with Solanke. Same with Solanke and Kluivert. I think that's good too. Tav, I think, works well just on his own because he's got assists that might go to center backs. Of course, he can assist to Solanke, but that's expensive. And then Tav could also have a massive floor if they go down or if he ends up scoring. And then maybe you just want him by himself. I don't know.
How much are you gonna fade Julian Alvarez?
I don't know, man. Not much, I don't think. Not much, I don't think. Did he not even
he's going to
play?
be over 50% in the main GPP?
Yeah, right. He sticks out so much at forward because there's not a Chelsea option at forward, and there's not really a Bournemouth option at forward. Not expensive, at least. I mean, people, not that many people are going to click 9,700 Solanke. And Alvarez is just so safe in this spot, right? You figure he's almost sure to play. He's probably going to play 90 minutes. I mean, unless they're up 5-0. He didn't play.
Take part in the goals.
Yeah, he didn't play midweek. I mean, he's going to take almost all the set pieces. I guess it seems like Bernardo maybe been taking one or two recently ahead of Foden, but yeah, I'm going to have a lot of Alvarez. Are you making an argument to fade? I mean, you can fade, but you need goals in Chelsea, Bournemouth. One of those teams to score 4 goals. It's possible.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure it out here. Do you like Alvarez? I think this is more of his natural, a little bit at 4. Do you like him in DFS more in this role when Haaland is hurt, or do you prefer, in terms of DFS, him in the central attacking midfield role?
Yeah, that's a good question. His floor might be lower here. But he probably has a better chance to score a goal. I don't know though. Maybe he doesn't. I don't know. Yeah, that's a good point.
I want a reason for me personally to fade what will probably be the most popular player on the slate.
I mean, yeah, that's a reason. There's also if City can score, go up 2-0 at halftime and Alvarez not be involved in those goals. And then, it's pretty easy for him not to be optimal because there's probably, there might be a brace in the Chelsea game. There might be a brace on the Bournemouth side, and you just can't afford it all. So if if 3 other expensive players score 20 points, then you can for sure fade Alvarez. It's actually, I support it. I support it just because he's going to be so popular.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking
Right,
at.
there's got to be a lot. There's a lot of outcomes where he just finishes with like 14 points, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at okay, this is one sample size. I did pull up last season, but a lot of last season's numbers, like he had De Bruyne in there, it's just completely different. So okay, he has set pieces. Last week against Luton Town, 3 shots, and all those were on target. And then just 1 cross, even though he took 3 corners. So I guess without Holland, are they taking short crosses now as well, or short corners? Is that what's going on?
I guess you never know, but possibly, I don't know. They still have center backs in there, right?
Yeah.
Diaz, Akanji,
Yeah, it's just a weird
Rodri.
number, like 3 corners and 1 cross just seems like a weird number.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
No,
but
I think it's a fair point though. His floor has got to be a little lower in
no
that
crosses from open play. That's what we removed from this.
And that's big.
Yeah,
and no shots assisted to Holland.
You got anything else for the slate? Who do you think? What do you think Jordan would do in this spot? You think he'd probably fade City, right? He'd probably go somewhere else.
Probably fade City, right?
I don't know if he's a Chelsea guy or not.
Where do you go? Nico Jackson? Maybe.
Are you going to play Nico Jackson?
Maybe he would mention Sterling. I kind of want to play Nico Jackson. Yeah, I mean, he's expensive, but just seems like he scores a brace in this spot sometimes. I think he's a pretty good player. I think he's like going to be a pretty good Premier League player.
He only scores multiple goals when the other team has 9 players, but
I've seen, he's performed pretty poorly relative to XG, right? I remember that earlier in the season he's missed some big chances, but I like to see that he's getting those chances. Like he's a young, talented kid that's gonna get better. He'll start scoring those.
Makes sense. Yeah, I think else for the slate.
Sorry, now I see Nkunku is back too, right?
Yes, he will be in the squad, and Nkunku will be in the squad. So,
well, that's annoying because he's for sure coming on.
Who does he sub off is the question, I guess.
Probably Sterling, but maybe Palmer. Is Mudryk is what's up with him? Is he healthy too?
He is. Yeah, he started the last 2, I think. So he could even start.
Honestly, kind of makes me like Nico Jackson a little bit more. He's
more likely. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they have Broja too, I guess, but yeah, still like, interesting.
Yeah,
Nkunku back.
Yeah, I mean that might be more likely for Enzo Fernandez to keep coming off early, even.
True that too. Yep.
And then
you figure that Nkunku may take the sets when he comes on.
So
there's that too.
Just another piece of the puzzle. Another piece of the Chelsea puzzle.
Good point.
RotoWire.com/soccer trial. It's a 48-hour trial. Get this cheat sheet, all of the cheat sheets. We have let me see what we got. We got Nottingham Forest home against Tottenham. We got a confirmed lineup. We have no surprises. We got looks like Nottingham Forest are pretty much running out the same lineup they just had at Wolverhampton, and Tottenham are also pretty much running out the same lineup. So no surprises there for those teams for the showdown of the week. If you have any questions, RotoWire.com. So get into our Discord. We'll be in there answering any questions for that. But thank you, everyone, for watching. Make sure to give a thumbs up on this video or podcast or subscribe to the YouTube channel. Ryan, you can find him at Ryan Belongia on Twitter. I am at Zdroik. Thanks for watching this. We'll be back at some point next week. I think we got a normal Saturday slate, and then that's when it gets a little bit interesting with Boxing Day and the holidays going. But we'll be back next week either way. Thank you for watching. Thank you, Ryan.
Thanks, Adam. Good luck, everybody.